Hello. If you're new here, my name is Eric. I make and self publish tarot decks for a living. This is one of my tarot decks. It's called the Inkwitch Tarot Deck. A lot of the stuff that I've put here on YouTube is about my tarot work specifically, but this video is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be a review for a video game that I have not played yet using the tarot. A while back, I recorded a sort of tarot reading review for a video game called Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I'm still playing that game. I'm really enjoying it. I do plan to post a video once I've finished playing that game, but in the meantime, I'm thinking about what video game I'm going to play next and have decided on one. I recently picked up Cyberpunk 2077, which is not a new game. It came out quite a while ago. I can't remember when, but it's been years. It's been a game that I've been wanting to play for a really long time. A friend of mine has been recommending it to me for a long time, and I've been really curious about it, but it was recently on sale, so I decided to get that and play it here pretty soon when I'm done with Clair Obscur. Even though this game has been out for a long time, I don't really know very much about it. I'm assuming that it's cyberpunk vibes just by the name. Cyberpunk is usually characterized by like a futuristic version of a world. It's usually kind of dark, with a lot of reliance on technology, sort of being alongside humans. It isn't always dystopian, but it often is, or it often has that vibe. So I'm assuming that this game will have those vibes. I vaguely remember when the game was coming out that Keanu Reeves was marketing it. I think I could be making that up. But I think Keanu Reeves was marketing it. I think Keanu Reeves might be in the game, if I'm not thinking of something else. Other than that, I don't know a lot about it. I vaguely remember that when it was very first released, the reception was pretty bad. I think that a lot of people felt like it was released kind of unfinished. I think maybe it met a bunch of delays. I think maybe it was really buggy and glitchy when it first released, and I think that they've done a lot to fix it since then. But as far as gameplay goes, as far as story goes, I really don't know much about it at all. So I'm going to ask the tarot and do sort of a predictive review of Cyberpunk 2077 by reading tarot cards. So for this reading, we're going to be pulling 6 cards. The first card is going to represent just a general sense of what the game is, what it's about, what the vibe is, just a very general, broad, how is this game sort of question. The second card is going to represent the quality of the story, and the third card will represent the quality of the gameplay. The fourth card is going to represent the game's strongest points, and the fifth card will represent its weakest points. And then our sixth card will represent how I feel once I finish the game. My like sort of final review of the game, but without having played it yet. So I've given these a quick shuffle. Like I said, we're going to start out with just a general sense of what the game is about, the overall vibe of the game. We're going to go ahead and just jump right in. Our first card is the Ace of Pentacles. My immediate reaction might be kind of skewed by other cyberpunk genre stuff that I've played or watched in the past. But my first reaction is that the general vibe of this game has a lot to do with money, a lot to do with capitalism. Because this is the Ace of Pentacles, I think it probably has a lot to do with somebody who's trying to get ahead, somebody who's maybe trying to plant a seed in order to make some money or improve their state of well-being. We associate pentacles with money a lot of the times, but they're really associated more with our sense of wellness, our sense of stability. So the idea of wealth, but not only in terms of money, wealth in terms of our overall health, our overall sense of groundedness. You can have a wealth of friends who are supportive to you. You can have a wealth of any kind of resource. But my first thought is money and capitalism, and the overall vibe of this game is going to be really about how to get ahead in a world where maybe that's kind of difficult, how to seize opportunities, because the aces are always representative of opportunities and gifts, but ones that have to be claimed, one that have to be identified and then actually seized. We often see hands on ace cards in a lot of decks. It's true of this card as well, because it really has to do a lot with noticing the opportunity and grabbing it while you have the chance to. So I think this game is really going to be about those opportunities to sort of seize something that can sort of bring a sense of stability to your life. I wonder if we're thinking about, like, this is the overall overarching vibe of the game. I wonder if this is a game that will make myself or other people who play it feel the drive to do that as well. We'll sort of look at this game and maybe feel, oh, I want to seize opportunities like that myself. We'll find out, I guess. So card number 2 is going to represent the story quality of the game. How is the story? We have the lovers. I wonder if this is going to be a really romantic story in some kind of way. Romantic in that maybe it involves a romance between two people, or maybe romantic in a sense of it romanticizes the cyberpunk genre, perhaps. I am tempted to just say, if this card is to represent the story quality of the game, I'm tempted to just sort of, my like initial intuitive reaction seeing the lovers as this is like, oh, I'll love this story. I think I'll really love it. We'll see, I guess. But I think that it's maybe going to be a story that revolves a lot around the relationships between maybe the main character and a secondary character. This card looks very romantic, very sexual, but the lovers doesn't necessarily have to mean that. It's possible that this is going to be about a relationship between them and just somebody or multiple people that they really care about. Also, just with this particular version of the lovers, it makes me wonder if there are going to be gay characters in the story. I wonder if we'll see like a same-sex romance being really central to the story in some way. Third card is meant to represent the quality of the gameplay. I have the Ten of Pentacles. This card is all about legacy. It's about inheritance. It's about what we're creating to leave behind for the people who come after us, as well as what has been created for us in the present. This makes me really think that the gameplay of Cyberpunk is going to rely a lot on developments from games that came before it. I wonder if we'll see things that feel really familiar being used in really creative ways. A good example of this would be sort of like how I think it was Ocarina of Time created the lock-on feature. I think that was one of the first games where you could lock on to an enemy as you're fighting them. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that's something that Ocarina of Time did first, and then now we see it in almost every action RPG. So I wonder if we're going to be seeing features that we really associate with other games being used in a creative way by Cyberpunk. And I also wonder what we'll see Cyberpunk doing gameplay wise that we'll look at and see and think, oh, other games are going to want to use that mechanic. Other games are going to do this in that same way because Cyberpunk did it so well. This feels very positive, and it feels like the gameplay is going to be really informed by games that came before it, as well as maybe influential on games that come after it. Our fourth card represents the strongest points of the game. So where the game is really excelling, really hitting the marks. And we have the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man has a lot to do with sacrifice. It does have a lot to do with our perspective being changed, though. So I do wonder if maybe the strongest aspect of this game is going to be how it changes my perspective on something. Thinking about that gameplay card, I really wonder if the Hanged Man aspect of this, if the strongest part of the game is me seeing how games can be done in a new way. It might also have to do with the story. It might represent kind of this idea of seeing um, the cyberpunk genre in a new way, or seeing this like connection to that Ace of Pentacles idea of wellness and security in a new way. I do feel like the Hanged Man has this important symbol of sacrifice, though. So I think something maybe has to be given up in order to have that shift in perspective. In order to think about something in a new way, you kind of have to give up your old way of thinking, is sort of the idea. So I wonder, the strongest point of this game being a sacrifice doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but the strongest point of this game being a shift in perspective makes a lot of sense to me. Card number 5 represents the weakest points of the game, and this is so uncanny, but it's the Lovers again. This is a deck that actually has multiple versions of the Lovers. I created a few different versions of the Lovers just so people could pick and choose the one that resonated with them, but I've chosen to leave 2 of the Lovers cards in this deck for myself. I'll pull back the one we saw earlier. I chose to leave both of these versions in the copy of the deck that I use, just because I feel like they kind of read in slightly different ways. They mean something a little bit different to me. At the same time, pulling this card for the weakest point of the game makes me wonder if the story is actually maybe the weakest point of the game, and that maybe more of the mechanical aspects of the game are going to be the things that I enjoy the most, that most people would maybe get the most out of in a game like this. I also wonder if maybe not the entire story is the weak part of the game, but maybe that romantic aspect, maybe the relationships between the protagonist and other characters are not fleshed out very well. Maybe they're not all that thought provoking. Maybe they don't feel all that genuine. With a card like the Lovers, I really think that the relationship aspects of the game are going to be lackluster when we're looking at a card that we want to represent the weakest points of the games. So this makes me a little nervous about the story. It makes me worry that the story is not really going to be very good. It also makes me, on the other hand, maybe think perhaps parts of the story will be really good, but we might see the relationships within that story not being written in a very convincing way. The friend who's been recommending this game to me for a while knows that I love a good story-driven game. That makes me really doubt that the entire story is going to be the weakest part of the game, but who knows? Maybe the story will be really good and yet will be the weakest part of a great game. You can have a game that is just hitting all the marks, and so the weakest part of it can still be something that's being done really well. We'll see, I guess. But this really, my sort of gut reaction, my gut instinct is telling me this kind of suggests that the relationships within the game aren't going to be very well thought out, aren't going to be that thought provoking or that convincing. Our final card for how I'll feel at the end of the game, what's the end result, the final conclusion of the game going to leave me with, is the Knight of Pentacles. It's really interesting to see the Knight of Pentacles for the final conclusion when the vibe, the general sense of the game was the Ace of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles feels like somebody who's kind of planted that seed, somebody who's had an Ace of Pentacles moment and is learning and growing from it in a really active way. The Knights of the Tarot deck are often seen as being adventurous. It makes me wonder if I'm going to leave this game feeling like I have something I want to pursue now. It makes me wonder if this game is going to make me think about money and my sense of wellness in a different way. If I'm going to leave this game feeling like I want to sort of embrace some kind of new path, some kind of new adventure when it comes to my sense of wellness and stability and maybe money as well. It's interesting to see all six of these cards together because not only do we have the lovers twice, which is unusual, but aside from our major arcana, the two lovers cards and the hanged man, all of these other cards are pentacles cards. It feels like this game has a lot to do with either money or just how our sense of wellness is maybe affected by this game, especially with this hanged man kind of representing again the strongest points of the game being this shift in perspective, being this sacrifice. I wonder if it's maybe going to kind of cause a sort of philosophical question of how can we shift our perspective by letting go of how we felt about wealth and wellness. How can we change that perspective by letting go of our preconceived notions about our sense of stability? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you've already played Cyberpunk 2077, there's a good chance you have. It's not a new game. It's new for me, but a lot of people have already played it. I would love to know what you think about these cards. If you could leave a comment in as least spoilery of a way as possible. Let me know if you feel like any of these jumped out at you, if you would maybe interpret these in kind of a different way. Again, try to be careful about spoilers because I haven't played this game yet, but it's also not new at all. So you've probably already had a chance to play it and think about how these cards fit into it. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you feel like sharing them. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Let me know if there's something else you would like me to review in this way. I play games a little slowly usually because I have a lot of other things that take up my time, but gaming is something I do really like to do when I have free time. And so I'm always looking for new and exciting games to play. Let me know what your favorite game is, or a game that you would just be interested in getting a review on from a tarot deck. But I hope you enjoyed this. When I finish Cyberpunk 2077, if I finish it, I'll probably post a video looking back at these cards and how I feel about them after the fact. But until then, I hope this was fun. I had fun. I hope you did too. And I'll see you around.